Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spark Your Fire. It's your property segment today, and I'm your host, David Shi. It's my pleasure to be able to basically get another investor onto the show again today, and his name is Daniel Lamp. And welcome, Daniel. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me, David.
That's awesome, mate. We always love a good investor story, and I think you and there's look, I'll obviously introduce you a bit later, but like I prefaced a lot, we like to invite anyone and everyone who's has a interest in property, whether that's just whether looking at starting out or whether they're basically have already established portfolio. If you got a story, you're more than welcome to share, and that's our overall goal here: is to be able to continue to grow the investor community, and by sharing and collaborating a little bit more in terms of our experiences, etc., etc. So, but anyway, Daniel, back to you today because it's all about you today. Welcome to the show, by the way. Can you give us a bit of background in terms of who you are, and what do you do as a profession, and yeah, I guess let's just start off with that so our audiences know who Daniel Lamp is.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm a doctor, currently based in Sydney. Grew up in Sydney, went to medical school in Newcastle, and I've now worked in a variety of different roles, including emergency, intensive care, more recently general practice. I've worked in some rural locations as well. Passionate about property investing as well. A fan of your podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a shame that Jazz couldn't hear, but I'll pass on the message to him as well. So you're a GP or you're a doctor, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long does it actually take to actually get that GP qualification? Just because obviously you're a very young guy. I reckon you're about 20, 26, 27 this year?
Yeah, late 20s. Yeah.
Late
So
20s,
basically, medical school, I guess, ranges from about 5 to 7 years, depending on whether you did an undergraduate or not.
Yeah.
And then you do kind of 2 to 3 years in the hospital system, and then go into specialty training after that. General practice is a shorter one, kind of 2 years. The other specialties can take 5, 6 years plus.
Yeah.
I've been working now for about 6 years, at the moment doing a mixture of general practice and emergency.
Are you enjoying it? I guess,
Yeah.
as a doctor, because that's obviously a very important thing, right? Like you got to enjoy your profession. Having studied so many years in medical school and having to see patients every day coming in and say, "Oh, Daniel, I've got a sore shoulder. What do I do?" Are you enjoying basically having be able to help patients with their questions and in terms of the medical field side of things?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, learning in medical school, but also a lot of kind of learning from patients that you see every day.
Okay.
They talk about, it's, similar to other industries, continual professional development.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And it is a privilege to be able to help people from all walks of life.
Yeah, that's true. That is one of the key privileges being a doctor, because you don't get to choose the patient that you get to see. Unfortunately, most of the time they walk in, they'll basically chuck the problem and you say, "Daniel, this is my problem. How do we fix it?" Right? So, but it's good. It's good to see that you have a passion. Are you looking to specialize in a certain area at the moment, or are you just happy to continue to go down the GP route at the moment?
Yeah, happy to doing a mixture of general practice and emergency at the moment. I like the problem solving aspect, which I guess you kind of use similar skills in property investing as well.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, because that's what I was going to say as well. If you like problem solving and you like doing these things, then I would say property investment is definitely one of those things that you're looking into. Let's have a chat about, actually, before we jump into your portfolio. I was curious because I don't know about your background, but I know the general stereotypical type of Asian parents, as you can imagine, is, hey, you need to grow up to be a doctor, an accountant, or a lawyer. Obviously, you qualified as doctor, so congratulations. That's one tick. Has your parents put any pressure on you in terms of buying property as soon as you started earning an income?
Uh, so yes, I guess coming from a background, migrant
Yeah.
parents, growing up, the value of education, formal education, being instilled, and also as well, work ethic as well, which is very
Mm,
important.
mm.
But no, yeah, my parents actually didn't put, unlike the stereotype, didn't put pressure on,
Oh, okay.
studying medicine or things like that, and also um, not really in regards to property investing as well. I guess because didn't come from a particularly well-off background, but
Right.
I guess I was motivated to learn about investing and create a better financial future. That was also one of the reasons why I got into property investing in the first place.
Mm. Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. So your parents didn't give you that pressure to say, like, because mine did. Let's put it this way. Like as soon as I started earning income, my parents were like, you should be putting your money into property, right? But your parents didn't give you that pressure, and they didn't sound like they gave you any guidance in terms of how you should be handling money at the early age as well. So what what exposed you to the idea of investing in property then? Like what was the I guess the catalyst for you to be looking at this asset class?
Yeah, so I guess it's similar to some of my friends as well. Growing up, I guess parents might teach you about the importance of saving money and
Mm,
setting money aside. Get a good job, formal education, things like that. But I guess I could already see from a early stage that um, earning, just doing a regular job by itself and just saving money wasn't going to exactly get you to financial freedom. I
mm,
guess especially with how high crazy inflation has been recently, and also professionals paying a higher tax bracket. Just kind of saving is important, definitely important, but
yes.
the it wasn't enough by itself. So I guess I considered different asset classes, shares, property were kind of top them. I guess dabbled with shares during university, and some wins, some losses.
Yes.
But yeah, attracted to real estate because tangible asset, and also able to use leverage. Put in some of your money, but then use the bank's money to be able to purchase good quality assets,
Mm.
and also get some good consistent rental income as well. And yeah, I guess that's what made me interested in property investing in the first place.
Yeah.
Use a variety of resources, such as property chat forums, lots of books, ebooks, and attending meetups and things like that got me interested in property in the first place.
Okay, so you basically educate yourself early in basically in the early stages through various sources of media, online forums, books, ebooks, um, meetups in person, that kind of things to help propel yourself and surround yourself with like-minded people to be able to move that, right? So, is that before you purchase your first property, or is that after?
Yeah, definitely even before. No,
Okay,
definitely.
good.
I think, property investing is a, big purchase decision, and lots of moving parts. And definitely I wanted to be able to educate myself as much as possible, before pulling the trigger. Yeah.
Mm. Out of curiosity, how long did that preparation phase took? So from the time that you started getting exposure to property, from the inception of the concept till you go through all that process of self-educating, getting yourself up to speed until the time you pull the trigger. Do you know roughly how long that time frame took?
Um, it's probably a couple of years,
Couple of
during
years, yeah.
during my studies. As I said, I dabbled in shares, but then it was also interested in looking at property as well. But obviously, not yet having a full-time income,
Yeah, yeah.
couldn't borrow yet. But what I could do, which I guess other investors can take home as well, even if you might not be in position to invest now.
Yeah.
Kind of learning, educating yourself with, all the terms and the processes, so that when you are in a position, you're ready to act.
No, that's awesome. That's great advice for people who try to start out. And yeah, like a few years is pretty common actually when I think about it. The amount of time that you need to absorb, the amount of time that you kind of need to get yourself up to speed. Plus, you're actually studying full time at that point in time for your medical schools as well. So imagine it's not an easy job, an easy feat at all. But yeah, look, well done in terms of obviously did all the hard yard, pulled the trigger. Just from a high level perspective, can you give our listeners a bit of idea in terms of how many properties you have at the moment, the size of the portfolio today?
Yeah, that's right. So I've got 2 investment properties based in Queensland. And yeah, in the near future, looking to grow my portfolio further as well. So I guess we can talk about numbers later, but
Sure.
high level, the portfolio is probably worth a bit over 2 million.
Bit over 2 mil. Okay. Yep.
And rental income, one of them is probably due to get a rental increase soon. So probably I would say around the 1,300 a week gross rent.
That's not bad.
Yeah, pretty good rental yield.
Are we talking about, I guess you're looking at probably about 4 point something % gross for both properties ish, around that, thereabouts?
It's probably when I purchased, okay. That, and it's with the recent rental increases across Australia, but especially southeast Queensland, rents going up. Yeah.
How much have your rents gone up for the two? Just out of curiosity.
So one of them a few years ago was about 500, 520. And I think with upcoming rental increase, probably kind of 650.
650.
And then
wow.
And then the other one initially 550, and now currently close to 700. So.
That's about $150 increase. Yeah, that's crazy, and that's in line with what we're hearing at the moment across Queensland as well. There's a huge rental crisis at the moment. Just tenants are struggling to find a place to rent, a decent place to rent. So I'm not surprised. Okay, well, let's start digging into a bit about your property story then. So how did you start with your first property? Like, you've done your research, obviously back at that time. Actually, when did you purchase this first property?
Yeah, so it's 2018.
2018.
Initially, I guess, looking at the Sydney market, it was kind of, peaked or a little bit past its peak.
Yeah.
So I did my research looking around Australia, and I identified, kind of Brisbane being undervalued at the time, and good fundamentals, third largest capital city, good interstate migration. So that was a market I did a lot of research in, and that's made me interstate investing as my first property. Yeah.
You were a bit scared in terms of investing interstate initially? Like, what was well, what was your experience?
Yeah, so it was pretty daunting at the time, and I did use a buyer's agent. I had assembled a team of professionals, such as accountant, mortgage broker, and basically identified at North Brisbane. Purchase price was $565K.
565,
initially rent was a little bit difficult in terms of it was a bit soft at the time, and basically one of the prospective tenants wanted an air conditioning installed in the master bedroom, so I negotiated that I would do that, but then they were willing to pay $20 extra a week rent. So a bit of a win-win situation. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right, so about 565 purchase price. This is back in 2018. Which suburb is that? Is this one at?
It's kind of the Brighton.
Brighton. Okay.
North side of Brisbane.
Yeah, it's good. Good area. Good area on there. That's for sure. And I think so. This one would have done really well. I would say, isn't it? Because if you purchased at 2018, would be close to $1 million now ish. I would say.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably just under. Yeah, about
Just under.
950,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say. Yeah.
Good growth, given the fact that it's about 4 years, right? Like you're looking at,
Yeah.
obviously it's paper equity at the moment, but
Yeah.
still, I think, if you look at shares, if you want to be able to get that kind of return within, say, 4 years' time, you got to be really probably trading every day and night and speculating a lot of stress, a lot of white hair.
Yeah.
Luckily, you don't have much white hair at the moment yet, so that's good. That obviously shows that the property's not treating you too bad. Okay, 2018. So that's the first property at Brighton. You've used a buyer's agent, and how was your experience in terms of that? Like, if you look back to say, did you think that the buyer's agent have this property? Let's just say, um, if you look at buying it today, would you still be choosing this property? Would you still be happy to go ahead with it?
Yeah, so I guess, being a first-time investor, having that buyer's agent kind of hand-holding through the process, I think was good at the time, helped me to take action.
Mm.
I guess if I were to go back in time and buy again, I probably would buy something a bit larger land, because that one was about 400 square meters.
Okay.
I probably would have gone for a larger block of land and maybe slightly less rent, a little bit older house.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm just happy did get in and start, and then always continually learning and taking it forward for future purchases.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so that one, so the downside, 400 square meters. Is it a brick house?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Modern
good.
house.
Modern house. How old is it? How old is it when you bought it?
It was actually a new build.
New build.
Actually,
Okay.
yeah. So I kind of sourced the land, and back then the build, was pretty cheap. It was about I think it was 220K actually for the build, which you wouldn't be able to get nowadays.
No.
So overall, it wasn't too bad. Unlike some of my colleagues who kind of got caught up with some spruikers, buying off the plan apartments or land, say 300 square meters, and the building itself costs more than the land. Those basically I could have done worse, but
that's okay. Everyone, the first one is always the one that we all have to pay tuition fee on, right? So
Yeah.
I'm no different. I'm still paying the price of my first off the plan purchase at this point in time. So
right.
so you're not doing too bad. Was that a brand new? Was that like a brand new house and land package when you purchased it, or was it secondhand? It was built already.
So it was kind of small. So what was good is that it was an infill suburb, right? So it wasn't like stacks and stacks of land that could be released for the next decades. So it was a small, I think it was a 10 lot release.
10 lot. Okay, good.
And good demographic owner occupier suburb. And then the buyer's agent had some connections with some builders, and was able to purchase for all in for, as I said, pretty good price, 565. And still good uplift. But looking back, could have done a little bit better if purchased larger block.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But that's okay. I mean, brand news has its own, I guess, pros and cons when you're coming to their first property as well. I think I know that when you dabble into something new in this type of fields, generally speaking, you want more peace of mind to a degree, and like we all heard about maintenances, we all heard about repairs and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, look, I'm sure that you learn your lessons, and if you've done it again, you would know that you want bigger blocks of land, probably something a bit older, but no one's perfect. So, okay. That's good. So that's first property in Brighton. Obviously done very well. And this one's just renting now at around 600 and something, about to go up to about 600.
It's due for renewal soon, and I think it'd be about 650 or so.
650. Good. Okay. So that's awesome. That's pretty good. All right. So that's 2018. And what happened since then after your first property?
So basically 2019, I guess. difficult lending environment with the APRA
Indeed.
at the time. So, but luckily, good saving habits. I was able to save up for a second deposit, and basically, this time I did my own research and looked in the south side of Brisbane, Salisbury, 10 kilometers from the CBD.
Nice.
And basically, again, I could see it was a little bit undervalued compared to the north side of Brisbane. So, do lots of online research, comparable sales, that sort of thing. And interesting story for this purchase was I basically finished, whole seven night shifts in intensive care.
All right.
And then flew up to Brisbane. I lined up, I can't remember, 10, 12 properties over the weekend to inspect.
Yeah.
Had a rental car and just went around to all the different properties. And there's only one that I really liked. And then put an offer in.
Yeah.
And it was accepted. Which
wow.
was very exciting. Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Wow. So after 7 night shifts, basically consecutively in a row, you decided to jump on the first available plane the next day on a Saturday, line up 10 to 12 properties and hit it all up in one go on the same day. And 1 out of 12 has landed. That's well done.
Yeah.
Gee, okay, that's that's a lot of dedication. Did you stay overnight on that day, or
I think I can't remember exactly. Yeah, I think I went the night before, and then did get some sleep, and then.
Good.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
No, sometimes I know sometimes we all have to do the same day trips, but luckily you didn't have to come back on the same day. You'll be pretty exhausted by that time. Okay. So, so this one actually sounds like you've done all the research yourself, isn't it? So you didn't go through a buyer's agent this time. And so what was the approach you took here? Like, what was the methodical approach? Because obviously you sounded like you're a very logical person. You've got your own way of determining factors and elements in terms of deciding whether this property is an investment grade. Would you mind be able to share us a little bit of that insight?
Yes. So basically, what I liked about this suburb and this property at the time was the proximity to the CBD, close to amenities, train station, hospital, university, and it was surrounded by more expensive suburbs. So I could see gentrification was already in progress, and I could see continue to be. And as I said from before, I wanted a larger block. So this one was 600 plus square meters.
Good.
Older house, high set, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and pretty reasonable condition. I think it had probably, even though it was probably built in the 1960s, it had a, some minor renovations, maybe 10, 20 years ago. So it was good presentation, and at the time it was very soft market, different to now. And basically, it was good timing as well, because literally a few weeks after was the federal election 2019.
Yes.
And that's when I guess once there was a lot of certainty back in the market, lots of property purchases jumped in, so it was good timing as well.
So you bought at the uncertain times at that point, isn't it? Because I remember, if I remember correctly, 2019 was the time when Labor was proposing to scrap negative gearing, basically. That's right. Yeah. And then that was the miracle win with ScoMo coming back on again. Yeah. So yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So just around that period. So how much did you bought this one for?
Yeah. So that was 625K. 625. And today it'd probably be worth probably between 1 and 1.1.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Again, it's done very, very well in the last 3 years that you've held on to it. And rental wise, it hasn't been much issues in terms of getting a tenant like the first one, or?
Oh no, this one overall has been good. Have had I think 2 lots of tenants. Initially rent 550 and recently, as I said, 680. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's it's all nice buy and hold type of strategy for these two by the sounds of it. And I think it lays good foundation for your portfolio as well, because now that you're able to probably look at extracting some equity out of it, So that way you're able to go again moving forward, right? So,
Yeah.
so what will be the future perspectives at the moment? I know you said you want to continue to build your property portfolio. If you're looking at the next one, what would you be looking at?
Yeah. So I think Perth looks quite interesting at the moment.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know, I think it's a bit undervalued compared to some of the eastern seaboard cities.
yes,
And basically, I think it's got strong fundamentals as well. I think it's, my initial thoughts was, oh, it's just, just iron ore mining
mining
and
town,
nothing else.
yeah,
But I think, listening to one of your recent podcasts as well, I think it was David Hall,
David Hall,
talking about, it's got other industries, and also it's not just iron ore, but also, gold, lithium, etc. And, lots of high-paying jobs. I think it's got pretty good fundamentals. But also, I think also as well, with the recent media talking about Sydney coming down, I think possibly in the next few years, Sydney might even look interesting as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. So you're open to all options at the moment. I did. Sorry, let me circle back a little bit. I forgot to ask you about, because you obviously you've done your research previously. What was your overarching property strategy when you're building your portfolio? Like, are you looking for cash flow properties? Looking for capital growth properties? You're looking for a balanced portfolio? What is your overarching strategy at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. I think rental yields and cash flow is important, to be able to, service the loans and keep you moving forward. But yeah, definitely, my strategy, and from, listening to many experts and doing my own research, I think residential property definitely is meant to be for capital gains.
Yes.
If you wanting just cash flow, there's, easier kind of options. And basically, I've been lucky so far to have some good capital growth, and able to in the future use that equity capital growth to purchase more assets, and basically once have a good asset base, later on it enables you to have options to be able to convert some to shares, or to commercial property, or to kind of more cash flow. But I think definitely in the early stages, you want to get the properties right that will grow, because there's a lot of costs involved with property investing, such as interest, property management, etc. If you were doing it just for cash flow, there's probably easier ways.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so capital growth basically is what you've been focusing on primarily for the two, right? Would you be looking at, now that you've got your foundation, would you be looking at something that you can potentially manufacture equity for the next purchase that you're looking at? Because I think the two that you told me, the Brighton and the Salisbury one, both are kind of just buy and hold. There isn't too much that you can do to the property. Maybe for Salisbury, maybe a bit of renovation, but it sounded like it was in pretty decent condition anyway. With Salisbury, you mentioned it was a high set. Was downstairs built out to a degree?
Yeah, downstairs was built out, so there was
awesome.
two extra rooms.
Two extra rooms,
and I guess that also, that kind of extra twist or extra pro was able to help me achieve a higher rent as well.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how he was able to achieve kind of like close to 700 in the current market, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So in terms of the value adds, what would you be looking at next one? Would you be looking at bigger blocks of land, something with subdivision potential, or with grey flat, or have you got any thoughts in mind in terms of where that ideal next property is, or what type of that property will be?
Yeah, I think I'm happy with building, kind of this, if you like, bread and butter kind of portfolio, okay. Able to go up in value. And yes, if something does have development potential, subdivision potential, that could be okay. But I think also as well, in the current market, a lot of those are factored into the price. And I guess you also have to consider whether you've got the time or the skills to be able to do development or subdivisions, etc. But at the moment, I guess with like other busy professionals, probably it would take up even more of your valuable time if you were to try and learn development or subdivisions. But something to consider. Yeah.
Oh, that's for sure. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you are a busy professional. I keep forgetting about that. Being a doctor and probably work 7 days a week as well to to try to make pull in more money. Okay, no, that's good. Um, Now, in terms of your goals, everyone's in this property investment game for a bit of a goal. Have you got some sort of ultimate goal? What does financial freedom look like in Daniel Lamb's eyes?
Yes, so I think definitely, working 60, 80-hour weeks, would be good to be able to cut down on that. Take a few more holidays, that sort of thing. Um, I wouldn't say I at the moment have an exact kind of figure goal, or
Okay.
still relatively young, and I think listening to some of the other and talking to other older investors and colleagues, often your goals do change over time,
They do.
and plans change and things like that. But at the moment, yeah, enjoying my stage at the moment and looking to grow the portfolio, and also, like helping friends and family who come ask me for advice and
Okay.
tips and
Yep.
strategies, and I'm happy to help them out.
That's awesome.
And also, yeah, I can see, the other thing that I'm passionate about is helping some of my healthcare colleagues avoid mistakes. I find often doctors, especially, often targeted by spruikers and sometimes their accountants or
Yes.
brokers might not necessarily have their best interests at heart. Recommending off the plan
Units.
apartments,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Yeah, I've got one particular that stands out is, yeah, a couple of years ago, one of my colleagues got kind of signed up into an off the plan apartment, kind of outskirts of Sydney, quite far out from the CBD. And then when it come time to settle and there were delays with settlement, the purchase price, the bank valuation price was actually substantially below
Wow.
the
Purchase
contract price. And then, ran out of money, and I think they had to even borrow money from family and friends. And even now, I think would be negative equity. So I think that just made me want to, help spread the word and help other colleagues kind of avoid making a really bad first decision. Because if on the other hand you make a really good first decision, first property,
Yes.
it enables you to move forward, get into your second, third, etc.
Yeah. The first property is definitely the key enabler in terms of how you can continue and how quickly you can continue to accumulate the stages as well. So yeah, definitely look, it's I can see why you're jumping on the podcast today, because you definitely want to use that, want to spread the word, want to share the knowledge a bit more so people can avoid having to go into that pitfalls, especially as you said, doctors has been one of the key primary targets for a lot of the plans.
Because often time poor, and they just might say, oh, just find someone that'll do it for me, but I find it is important to educate yourself.
Yes.
In doctors, nurses, allied health, often we spend so much of our time looking after patients, both clinical work, paperwork, that sort of thing, to then not have that much time to look after our own physical health at times as well, but also not just physical health, but financial health.
Financial health. Yeah.
I think that's a concept that I think is very important. Not only, some of my colleagues or some of the senior colleagues that I see, might be on very high incomes, but often, they might be spending a lot, lifestyle creep, and also, as I said, often being taken advantage of by certain financial firms. And there's some stories in the media as well.
That's for sure.
I basically wanted to not be like that, and having good saving habits, discipline, educate myself from an early stage.
Excellent role model, I got to say. Obviously, when you reach out and you're promoting that important concept about financial awareness for your colleagues and medical professionals in general, it's definitely one of those which I don't hear a lot at all. I do hear a lot of them being spooked, unfortunately, into buying off plan, and then I'm trying to help a few that's trying to get out at the moment, or even just try to settle the property and then be able to kind of sell that, because they worked out that after, it's only an after fact that they understand and they realize it is a terrible investment decision they got into. But yeah, as you said, if we're able to spread the words and have that, without them having even to sign up in the first place, then I reckon we've made the world a better place, basically. So awesome, thanks, Daniel. Just before we wrap up, mindful of the time, any last minute, any lessons? I know you had a few years of investing experiences. What are the 3 biggest takeaways for investors?
Yeah, so I think it is, as I said, taking the time to look after your financial health.
Yep.
Often in the healthcare industry, we look after others, but we also have to look after ourselves as well. And, a lot of starting salary isn't that high, particularly for healthcare professionals.
Yep.
And basically, we want to put that money to good use. And secondly, I would say is starting early. The magic of compound growth. Compounding on good property decisions rather than making bad property decisions. Hearing some of the other stories out there of people starting very young, sets them up in good stead. And I think number 3 is having a team around you. I think whether it be the correct mortgage broker, accountant, buyer's agent, and also because they can help give you advice. For example, going back to my second property purchase, at a time when lending was difficult, I had to pay the lender's mortgage insurance. Some people would say, "Oh, don't pay it," but at the time, it enabled me to get into that property purchase, and in the grand scheme of things, that 10 or 12 grand LMI. It doesn't matter if it's gone up, 400, 500K.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah. So surround yourself with the right professionals who can obviously, give you the right advice in terms of the area of expertise. And you're spot on with the LMI. A lot of times it's about, I look at LMI as an enabler for you to be able to get into an opportunity of controlling an asset, right? Ultimately, the asset is going to go up, and then the LMI just become part of the cost base, essentially. So it is just an enabler at the end of the day, not something evil. A lot of people paint it as something evil. It's probably not as great when you have to pay LMI for your home, but when it comes to investment property, I have no issues about it either. So, okay, awesome. No, thank you. Thanks, Daniel. Really appreciate your time and sharing your wisdom and knowledge today. I'm sure our listeners would have taken away a lot from it, and we look forward to hearing more about your subsequent investment stories later in the years.
No worries. Thanks for having me, David.
No problem, Daniel. All right. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope you liked the episode and liked Daniel's story. Like I said before, we don't, whether you have one property, whether you get no property, whether you're looking at building an investment property portfolio, let us know, reach out. I'm more than happy to jump on and have a bit of yarn about what's going on. Until then, we will see you guys again in another episode of Spark Your Fire. Take care and see you soon.